Okay, so there's been some ongoing problems at Manchester United, firstly with Jadon Sancho and then also with Antony. So we have to look at the situation, and there have been people who have been talking about it in various press releases and various articles about whether this is something endemic with Manchester United or whether this is something which is just unique to those particular players. Now, I have to say that Erik ten Hag has come out and said that he has been asked to take a very strict line with these things. He says that the club have been worried that there hasn't been this strength in terms of discipline before now. So he's come in. He's been specifically told to be more disciplinarian with these players, and this is what he's doing. Now, of course, both of these players have problems for different reasons, and obviously they have to be dealt with in different ways. With Jadon Sancho, obviously he came out in response to what Erik ten Hag had said in an interview about his training levels. He's come back and said that he thinks he's training well and he felt it was unfair, and of course that is what has caused this issue. It's an issue of discipline. Now, of course, you have to argue, should Erik ten Hag have come out and said what he did about Jadon Sancho? Should he have just said that he wasn't available? Should he have gone into the detail that he did? Well, that's one for the comment section. Let me know down in the comments whether you think he should have said that or not. And I guess if you are Jadon Sancho and someone thrusts a mic in front of you and says, why didn't you play? What was the reasons? And what do you think of the comments that Erik ten Hag said? There is a possibility you're going to say something before you've even thought about it. So these are the problems that modern footballers face. Maybe someone should have put their arm around him before that interview and said, look, probably best if you don't talk about what happened in terms of Erik ten Hag. Just say that it's something you're going to chat with the manager about or something like that. Maybe someone should have said that to him before the interview. Who knows? But anyway, that's a completely different kettle of fish to what's happening with Antony. Antony, of course, is a very serious allegation, and and it's got to be investigated. And so the way they handle his situation in terms of how they deal with Sancho is obviously going to be completely different. Now, Erik ten Hag has said that he wants an apology from Sancho before he allows him to return to training with the rest of the team. And, I guess on one part you could say he should apologise because he made these comments in public, but at the same time, is it right for Erik ten Hag to come out and say those comments in the first place? I mean, if he wants discipline in the team, surely that's got to start with him. Do you come out in public and criticise your players? This is something we've had before with other managers who've come out and publicly criticised players, and there's always this argument about whether you should be allowed to criticise your players or not, whether players should be able to criticise the managers or not. And I guess if you want to have discipline, if you want to have a strong, disciplined team, then you've got to set rules, and you've got to say, look, no one talks about things that are going on behind the club, behind the front facade of the club. No one talks about personal issues or things that happen in training. Everyone keeps their mouth shut. And so that is one thing that you should be able to do. And regardless of whether you're the manager or the players, you just don't come out and say anything. You just say that it's being dealt with, or you just make some reason why you can't talk about it. There's got to be a better way of doing it. I think personally that yes, Manchester United have had their players had problems with their players in the past. They've had problems with players under Alex Ferguson, so it's nothing new. It just depends on how you deal with those problems at the time. I don't think this is unique to Manchester United. I think other clubs have had similar issues in the past. Yes, it has happened predominantly more to United lately than any other club. But I think clubs go through these phases sometimes where they'll get players in who for whatever reason, something happens to them, and they have to be defended, or they have to be sanctioned, or whatever it might be. I think personally that it's everybody's problem at the club. I don't think this is just at player level. I think that discipline needs to be across the board. So if Erik ten Hag says he wants a stronger discipline, that's also got to come from him. He's got to say, I'm not going to talk about this situation. It's an in-house problem. We're going to deal with it in-house. In terms of course, the Antony situation, that's a public investigation. They have to come out and say something about that, and they've dealt with it in what I would say is probably a very good way in terms of saying that they don't condone what's happened, and obviously this has to be investigated. That's a completely different kettle of fish. He hasn't come out and had a go at the club. This is something that's been alleged at him, and as a club they have to then deal with that separately, as you would do with Jadon Sancho. So I think these are two different situations that we're talking about here. But I'd love to hear your thoughts, both as a Man United fan or even as a football fan in general. Do you think that it's right for managers to come out and criticise their players? And if they do come out and criticise their players, then surely players should be able to come out and criticise them. it's just par for the course? Or do you think that if you're a disciplined team, no one talks about what happens on behind the scenes, it stays in house and doesn't get talked about to the press? Let me know down in your comments what you think. I'd love to hear them.